Hey, what's going on, everybody? Geronimo22 coming back here, just talking a little bit about the Maxim 25 beta that I had an opportunity to get a chance to play. Maxim football. You know what I mean? In the background, we got Madden 24. So from now on, I'll just refer to it as the beta from Maxim 25. And talk a little bit about the differences that I can tell you guys from a quarters match defensive guys standpoint more than anything else. And I'll talk a little bit about offense, but what I'll do is I'll just jump here. You can see I'm playing Madden 24. I'm just going to jump into practice mode and just kind of work on a couple things here just to kind of show you the difference between some of the defenses that I've seen currently and the beta from Maxim Football 25 compared to some of the stuff you see in Madden 24. Okay, so I think the first thing that I'm going to bring up here is going to really be about talking about how match coverage is going to be better overall. So all the bugs that I saw last year when it came to some of the stuff with the corners and cover three seam, not playing the ball or not playing their responsibility correctly, anytime a running back especially went to the flat, okay, it really became a problem. It also became a problem sometimes when a wide receiver would just run a C route, or he would be aligned in a nasty split or in a close split. You would get a lot of the same issues there too, okay? So just wanted to kind of make sure you guys are aware of that. You guys know that was the problem. Well, that was fixed, and that's huge. And overall, it looks like, to be honest with you, the defense is been tuned up when it comes to a lot of the quarter stuff. So let me just try to get a playbook here that I can just use real quick. All right, a little Vic Fangio, Tom Moore versus Texas Coast versus D'Amico Ryans. Y9. I'm going to finish out the cycle playing in a CFM. Just a couple games out of the playoffs. Just gonna get some work in, make sure I'm still sharp. You know, it's fun times ahead. Next 2 weeks or so until they redrop the potential Maximum Football beta. So we could take a look at really quarters coverage, right? I'll come back to cover three seam, which I think is going to be the best coverage overall. Quarters coverage, if we, this is another thing too, zone coverage match. You don't have to do that anymore. It's already set to match. It's automatically. It gives you little indicators at the bottom, which defense is match, which is zone, and which is man. So that's good to know. And I think even which is blitz. But let's just say we call quarters, all right? And we know a basic route combination that you would get in Madden or any type of offense would usually be a 4-7-3 combination. I may not have it in this playbook right now, actually. Probably best for me to get a different playbook, to be honest with you guys. Apologize about that. Maybe we can just kind of create it here. Let's try to create it off of these. Let's see here. I could do it off a boot. We'll try. So if I took Brooks and put him on what you call a spot route, a little hitch route, okay, and you take your tight end and you have him go to the flat. This is pretty much called the spot combination, okay? And the 4-7-3 combination, when it works against the current quarters coverage, they changed last year or this year, if you want to call it, box, okay? So box is basically a 4/3. Everybody should know it. I've talked about it in a lot of videos. This is more of an advanced video, guys. I'm not going to break everything down or else we'll be here too long. But the main thing is that short route really shouldn't, most defenses don't teach that the corner has to go and grab number one running that spot. It's basically considered one under. And a lot of times spot actually does come inside of number two. So what would happen is your corner route would get double teamed by the corner and the safety. The nickel would go to the flat right now, and your three receiver hook player would work out to the new number three, the little spot route, okay? This current Madden 24, you see how the corner comes and jumps that route, okay? And I've talked about it at length of why they do it, but it's just the way the game is programmed. But what I've seen in the beta, in the Maxim Football 25 beta, it looks like it's but they finally have this done correctly. Okay, so our three receiver hook player actually does a really nice job of getting out underneath this player, and this corner is going to be over here and play on this corner route. Okay, and same thing with the safety. So you did a real nice job overall. Just some of the notes that I have here, just taking a look. The three receiver hook player, it used to be something in quarters coverage you had to really play with them, because he did a poor job of pushing out to number three, did a poor job of overall just walling players. But really this year I think it's a lot better. They really kind of try to clean them up. Now there's still the problem where if you do get three vertical, okay, and let's say you're in a spread 2x2 set, I can show it to you later, and let's just say number two runs a corner, okay, and then the running back in the backfield runs a vertical route, or it could be even obviously be an empty set. You get the same combination where two runs a corner route, okay, it doesn't matter what one does, and number three is an empty, a tight end or so, and he runs down the middle of the field. The three receiver hook player does not defend him, so that's still a problem. That's something that needs to be fixed in the game. But it looks like they're on the right track to potentially changing a lot. Now, back to just box coverage in general. Another problem last year was what? Vertical routes. So I might have to just jump out of this, guys. I don't want to make this video too long, but I might not have the right playbooks for this. I don't think I have. These are personal playbooks for me, guys, so I don't have 4 verticals here. Let's just jump back out real quick and just change to a generic playbook, okay? I'll use the Chiefs or something, or the Jets actually is my go-to playbook, and then I'll make sure I'm using the Chiefs here, okay? So let's just jump into the Jets playbook, just so I can use that for an example. Okay, I feel like that's a good book. And then on defense, it really doesn't matter because we're going to talk about base stuff here, guys. So I can even be in a 3-4, it doesn't matter, okay? So we'll just do it like this real quick. And what I'm going to show you is just some of the flaws of the game that were fixed, and I think were major deal breakers for people to not want to play quarters coverage, okay? So quarters coverage, let's get gun, and let's just go up against traditional verticals, especially from this side of the field. When the ball was, when the formation was to the left and you're in quarters match, you would see a lot of problems here with this. So in this current Madden 24, you would see that the corner and the outside, okay, he's going to run across the field with Hardman, okay? And again, it goes back to the logic that they tried to put in, I think, when it comes to the corner play and how he was trying to basically play the deep vertical routes because the year before it was really broken. But you're going to see him try to get all the way across the field and chase Hardman. And that's actually not, his responsibility on this play. It should never be. So this has been fixed in the Maxim beta 25 that I've seen. This was a problem. Now what you're going to get is your safety playing the deepest inside vertical. So it's kind of going back to how Madden 23 was. This guy would play that vertical. This safety would play this deepest vertical here, okay? What's going to happen is, and again, the corner is actually going to play it more like, actually, let me flip this defense here. Let me flip the play on offense, because if you guys didn't know this, they play it different this year. And I've done this in all my Patreon videos. That's the great thing about joining my channel or listening to me in the summer when I do my hourly breakdowns, 5-hour breakdowns. I'll kind of figure all this stuff out for a lot of people and for you guys and whoever wants it. Here, the corner doesn't chase this guy all the way across the field. They actually play it a lot better. This is more of what it's going to look like, and from what I've seen from the beta Maxim 25, it looks more like this. Okay, so one stays one technically, so the corner is going to stay back in his outside quarters. Okay, and then you're going to get the safety playing this deep over. You still get that pretend poach guy coming over. I don't understand why they have this programmed this way. This guy's still programmed the same to come over and pretend like he's poaching with his footwork, but actually doesn't really poach. He just kind of goes back to the middle of the field, or his quarters part of the field. The nickel plays, I think, is a little bit better. He doesn't get so wide so fast. He actually now, from what I've seen so far in Maximum Beta 25, is that you get this guy playing more head up inside. Okay, and that's going to help out so he doesn't get beat with leverage. So just those two basic route concepts basically vertical route concepts or wheels are covered with the current way that I've seen it. So that's good. All right. Now let me just kind of look at some notes here. In general, quarters coverage and all the DBs and all the coverages, doesn't matter what defense is playing, cover 3, I didn't really look at cover 2, but they what I call trigger faster in the run game, okay? And I'm going to talk about this because this is probably the biggest thing, is the RPO situation that happens when you play quarters or you play any type of zone, really, okay? But let me just get a basic run play. I won't talk about the RPOs right now. Actually, let me get it where the running back is coming this way, okay? So inside zone, let's just go quarters coverage, okay? And, our nickel, is part of the run fit here, okay? And you can see here when ball goes, really, this says when ball goes away, he has B gap, which is understandable, right? And technically, he would have D gap or E gap, whatever, outside the slot receiver if the ball came to him. Now, if the running back was on the other side, it would be a conflict. But we know in Madden, though, the way the game is programmed is that, these guys are going to come really inside, and they're not going to really play it fast. They're going to kind of do nothing. They're going to be able to get blocked by the wide receivers, because wide receivers are like champs when it comes to blocking in Madden. And they kind of just sit out there and do nothing. They're not an impact, the nickels, okay? The linebackers, the way they fit in Madden currently, are 50-50. There are some plays they do nothing. Some plays they come downhill, okay? And then also the safeties, especially in quarters coverage, they don't trigger fast enough, okay? This is not bad, but there's still some time, right, that's being taken there. I'm going to say right now, from what I've seen in the beta, Maximum Football 25 beta, it is lights out difference where these players right here in the second level will trigger faster, especially this gap right here. This little bubble right here is pretty common, right? People love to run inside zone to this bubble. But, in real life football, if this linebacker steps up quickly, what's going to happen is this double team can't stay doubled forever. All right. Sometimes the linebacker might run through that B gap, and you could do that right now currently in Madden. If you play with them, sometimes you could just run through. But what happens if the double team comes off quickly, this player here this one technique, A-gap player, should still be in his gap and be able to hopefully make that tackle, okay? But in this current beta that I've seen from Maximum Football 25, they come downhill hard and makes this thing develop, declare quickly. And then the biggest difference I saw was the nickel. I mean, the nickel would trigger on the run and get involved sooner, okay? Especially when the ball is away from him, all right? Same thing with the safeties. They're downhill right now. So you're getting faster run fits in all of the run game in general. Sometimes the linebackers kind of go sideways like they do here. And this is Madden 24, obviously, guys. But this is, it's just something good that, teams just can't come out and run the ball like they used to and not get DB reactions or even just second level reactions, I would say. And then you get third level reactions if you're playing quarters. Now, the most important thing, though, really, you guys are waiting for this, like the highlights, are that the RPO game is not glitched out really anymore. I called it almost a glitch because everybody knew, especially under center, that you can get away with calling RPO plays, especially bubbles. And if your opponent was in zone, even though this nickel is what I would call walked out over number 2, okay, he's walked out over that slot receiver, which would really kind of cancel the bubble. Or throwing the bubble, or off of this RPO alert play. Now, if you ran a read option play and the quarterback had the option to run the ball and throw it, that's different. He can still kind of read that defender. But we know in Madden right now that this is an issue, that if you throw this route, you're going to get that reaction from the nickel, where he basically comes working in towards his B-gap responsibility. And that right there is not happening in Maximum Football 25 beta. You see that reaction is not happening. He's actually still going to honor his bubble reaction, okay? And he's going to be out here covering the bubble, okay? Maybe I think I might have seen it one time where he actually did go inside, but from what I've seen, guys, they fixed that. So they knew that was some cheesy stuff, especially teams that came out and under center and ran stretch outside zone and tried to throw the bubble late, which, in my league, we had to put a rule against it, like a one-step rule and all this stuff like that. But it was really kind of cheesy. I don't think I have it right now in this playbook. It's not in the Jets playbook, I guess, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So basically, you can call zone, and that has to do also with cover 3 seam. Okay, I didn't test cover 2, but your quarters coverages and your cover 3 seams, you're getting the seam player honoring the bubble. Okay, I wanted to get a chance to take a look at it. They cut down the maximum football 25 beta. So I can't look at the other type of RPOs on the inside throws. I heard people actually say that that's actually pretty good this year. You can actually get some of those inside throws off. So maybe that's kind of what we're kind of giving up. We're stopping the bubbles, but we're not stopping the inside throws. Okay. All right, let me see what else we have here. So RPO defense seems fixed. The nickel doesn't always come down running. Okay. I guess one of the biggest things before I get back into, I'm going to come back to cover 3 seam because that's going to require a little bit of time, a little bit of explaining. But in general, the defense, they walk around pre-snap. So unlike right now, if I call a defense, and the guys are just standing there like static like this, I mean, that's not realistic at all. When you see it, it looks like the guys it looks like how they look on TV. NFL players have a horrible habit of not getting into their stance, which is not what you want to teach young kids or even college kids. You want them to get aligned quickly. But the NFL players don't bend their knees. They walk around, and it kind of gives a little bit of a disguise. I mean, even the defensive line, they're kind of like standing straight up, and then they just kind of lazily put their arm down at the last second. That's kind of like their hand to dirt in the last second. That's kind of what it looks like on TV. So it kind of gives you that good realistic feel. The one thing I love though is like if I called quarters coverage, right? If I even called cover 6, and I've talked about this in my Patreon, like there's certain tells that I can know that the left side of the field is playing quarters, okay? But in the maximum beta 25, you're gonna see like they're gonna kind of like be standing around here like this, kind of like not in their exact spots. Even the nickel, like he's like standing like close over here, and then like all of them would just be naturally moving before as you're stepping up to the line, you might be trying to look at stuff, and then they kind of get to where they have to get to late. So like even this player who wants to play like quarters from two yards inside number 2 at about 12 to 15 yards or whatever, he kind of like starts over here. You don't know if he's like in the middle of the field, and then he kind of like walks around and gets around here and moves, which is going to be really good because also what they have in the game, they took out basically what is it? I think the give cushion, and I think that's still in there. I think baseline is out of there from this coverage from this menu. You can still baseline from the pre-snap while you're doing your coaching adjustments, but from this menu you can't baseline. A lot of people are gonna be mad about that, but thank God they did that because that was the dumbest thing ever. And then you can't. I don't think you can show pressed. So, or maybe show blitz or something. You can actually use these coverage adjustments and show cover 3 and cover 2. So we can actually be like this to start, and as somebody's like, all right, cool, let me wait a little bit. That's going to happen too. People are going to be waiting on offense to kind of see your coverage a little bit more. They're not going to be quick snapping you unless their offense is very cheesy and they don't make any reads. And then if that's the case, you should be able to stop those guys anyway. That's another story for another day. But as soon as we get into our stance, then we can just kind of come back over here and just, show 3. And what they do is a very natural, everybody shows cover 3. So you can have them like on this, right before the ball snap, show cover 3, but we're still playing cover 6, right? You could do something like that. And then also on top of that, guys, in the actual coaching adjustments, or actually not coaching adjustments, when you're picking a play on defense, the right stick, okay, over here, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's actually when you get into a play call like this, you can use the right stick, which right now has nothing to do, right or left, and you can show cover 0, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, and cover 6, all from this menu, and then actually call whatever defense you want. So now you have any coverage shell that you want to come out in. So as soon as you pick a play and the sequence starts when the ball is on the field, it's going to show the coverage that you want it to show. So basically all this stuff here, like we used to have cover 9 show 2 that's built into the play. Well, we can play cover 2 and show, we could play basically essentially cover 0 show 2, cover 2 show 2 if you just leave it alone default. You can go cover 3 show 2, you can go cover 4 show 2, you can go cover 6 show 2. And the players will start in that alignment and then get to the coverage that you want or the play call that you want. So that right there to me is probably the biggest change. I know I've spent hours in videos talking about how can we show certain coverages, how can we get into certain coverages. They just made that done. Like, we're done. Now we're just going to be finding out what's the best way to show coverage. And I can see this getting a little bit cheesy. I can see people out there maybe finding certain ways. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking people are going to try to show cover 0 all the time. So when you show cover 0, it's going to look like cover 0 where the safeties are down at 8 yards. Everybody's aligned over their man that they be playing man-to-man on. And I can see people running some sort of defense where they're going to try to get into different coverages from that. That can become like the new baseline. But I didn't see it, but somebody had told me, one of my guys told me that if you do that, and I think you call, let's say you show cover 0 and play Tampa 2, right? Let me just get on the field instead of just having you sit here. Right. So like if you did that, so the Maxim Beta 25, so it would look kind of like this, right? So these guys would be like, man to man, looking like man to man. So you come out and it would just look like that. Guys are kind of still milling around, but you kind of get that feel that it's cover 0, but yet you can play whatever coverage. Somebody told me that though, if somebody's like really out of whack, like let's say for some reason somebody's lined up in a wrong spot, that player would turn into a spy, which is crazy, which means that he wouldn't cover his responsibility. So I don't know if that's the truth. When I actually saw it, was this. If I called cover 2, right, and I did show 0, this would be like a show 0 look. The game was smart enough to actually say, well, hold up, this safety has to play all the way back. They actually kept him back here, right? They might have kept this guy here because he's a little closer to his work or whatever. So they actually didn't allow certain players to like over disguise. They wouldn't, as I would say as a coach, don't let your disguise, beat your technique or ruin your technique. So if you have to play deep half and the coach says, hey, show, for example, let's show cover 3. I think this will work in the game. This deep safety over here in the middle of the field, he can get to his deep half. But can this safety from 4 yards get to his deep half in the snap? Probably not. You know what I mean? So I think in the game, if you called cover 0 or cover 3 show 2, this guy might be in his spot. At least they should have that. And maybe this guy would be the only guy who makes a difference. Look, the corners will definitely be playing off. They won't be playing at 5 yards. So it'll look something like that, instead of it looking like this. Not 100% sure how that's going to work, but the idea of us having coverage shells, basically, and how we can design them however you want, it's realistic, because in real life you can do that. You can design it however you want. You go into a game plan and say, hey, we're going to show cover 4 this week, and we're going to show a lot of cover 3. I want you guys to mix that into the calls. I'll give you the calls. You guys, if you have smart safeties and corners, they can work it out themselves. They can talk to each other, like right before the play. Hey, show 3 week, okay? 3 week would be the weak side safety coming down, okay? All right, so that's huge, and I think that's going to be really good for us going forward. Okay, let me see. All right, another thing before I go to cover 3 match is the pass rush in Maxim Football 25 beta was really fast. I mean, it was the block sheds were getting in 2.5 seconds, really consistently the first 3 or 4 days. For some reason yesterday and even a little bit this morning, it was really kind of easy for me to kind of just sit in the pocket. So I don't know what happened. So maybe when they do their next drop, we'll see how that is. Now, historically, Maxim Beta always does it so that, the pass rush is cranked up during those things and everybody's loving it. All the real simulation people love it. And then they always turn it back down. They always kind of like make it a little bit less. But I'll just say this. If they're going to make it less, that's fine. But this was the most, and this was like, people make sliders to make it feel like how it felt. I mean, if you weren't getting rid of the ball on time, you were consistently getting sacked. And also, it wasn't just the interior players, it was also the outside guys coming off the edge. So they were actually, and what I saw from that, the animations were smooth. They were actually, using their hand fights, putting spin moves on, using rips. It looked like real football. And I mean, I'm a 49ers fan, and the guy that plays on the representation of Maxim Football Beta 25 of the edge player, that I think, they, I don't know, 90 something, he was getting, in there a lot when I was playing, and he was just sacking me, you know, and I was like, okay, it's the first time I've ever seen him and felt his impact in this game. He's always been a guy that doesn't really do much, unless it was 2 years ago and he had edge threat. Okay, so anyway, that's big. We'll go from there. So the pass rush was cranked up. We'll see how it is in the future, but I hope they keep it up. Okay, now cover 3 seam, and then we'll talk a little bit about offense. I'm not gonna, like I said, that's not really my forte, but I will talk about what I see, and I have to obviously talk about from a defensive point of view. But the biggest change, guys, was cover 3 seam. Okay, cover 3 seam really gave you a new way of playing cover 3 seam in general. Okay, 2x2, it's been working fine in Madden. Okay, it's been good. Everybody knows it. It works out, right? The outside corners are playing what we call mod technique. So man, outside, and deep. Okay, so if number 1 goes outside or he goes deep down the field, the corners will match him. Okay, if number 1 was to work underneath, like I'm about to do right now in these slant routes, the corners would not match him. Okay, hold on. I might be wrong on that one there. For some reason, I thought Madden was not matching the corners last year. And maybe that's the reason why later on I made a video called Meg. Okay, that's fine. So the corners, guys, are actually doing the same thing. Okay, but if we do get shallow routes, they will fall off and play deep third. Okay, so the corners are basically playing like a hybrid of Meg versus 2x2, spread 2x2 now. Okay, spread 2x2 with this type of normal spacing on the right, and you got a slot receiver on the left. Okay, but however, the inside guys, the seam flat players, okay, if we were to get, look at the one on the left, okay, if we get that slant route, right, we look at the seam flat player on the left, the nickel, he is not going to take that slant route at all. Okay, he's going to let it go because to him, that's an inside breaking route. Okay, so this could be a shallow or a slant. He'll take anything outside or vertical. We know that, right? So if number 2 was to work it out, right, we know that that's his base rule. Well, just in general, guys, 2x2 spread, and I'll talk about the other formations later, you know, these seam flat players are taking slants. Okay, so if this tight end was to run a slant, which I can't do right now, I guess, but if I had the route, let me see if I have slants here. Is he going out? Whatever. If number 2 was to work in, the tight end Kelsey, this safety over here would actually take him and run with them. All right. So he's actually basically megging that guy. The only thing that would actually get him out of the assignment would be if they ran shallows. Okay. So that's something in the Maxim 25 beta that I've seen is that they're playing Meg pretty much across the board. We still have the same rules on the inside 3 receiver hook players. Okay. We're going to get a match with this hook player if 3 goes out. Okay. We'll talk more about him in a second. I hope I don't forget because I do have to talk about the corner routes from tight end, from halfbacks. Okay. So that's that. So 2x2 is fine there. But if we get into a formation, right, in current Madden where it is some sort of tight formation, okay, like this 2x2 compressed, okay, the game converts to what? Converts to 3 sky. So we're playing spot drop cover 3 everywhere. Okay. However, we know there's also the glitch with, you know, the corner can come running up as well. But just in general, I know I'm on that what do you call it, player, that linebacker. It's going to turn into sky most of the time versus all of these type of routes. So even though 2 is working on a corner, right, he's just going to work the corner. We got basically 3 sky over here. Our seam flat defender is going to work to the flat, right? That's that. Same thing on this side. Right, we're out of match when we get versus this, and this is how most people teach cover 3 seam, guys. There's a check to these type of formations. I can explain it more later. However, the current game, okay, is going to be different. Versus 2x2 compressed, match will stay on, okay, and you're going to get. I had to look at this for a while. You're going to get rules where it's exactly what I started with 2x2 spread, where you're going to get rules that if number 1 or number 2 does anything out, he does anything up, you know, vertical, or even if he runs a slant route, okay, it's going to play these guys. The seam flats and the corners are going to play match, okay, and also the 3 receiver, the hook player to the 3 receiver side, okay, to the running back side. So if we were to get this same route combination here, what's going to happen is our corner, okay, on this route is going to treat this just like he would in spread offense and say that's 1 out, I take that, okay? Then we're going to have our tight end do the same thing. He's going to take 2 because that's a vertical route, right? All right. Any type of corner, post, or over, deep over, or streak is considered a vertical route. So he's going to be over here taking that. Okay. And then the same thing on the opposite side with the matchups that we have here. So you're going to get versus 2x2, you're going to get that type of look. If we were to get even this odd, weird play, let's say we ran number 1 on a slant. Okay, remember slants are still being played meg by these corners. So this corner is actually still going to play this guy and run across the field with this route. Okay, and then our safety is still going to be on that corner route, and our opposite corner would do the same thing versus his route. Okay, versus his slant. What would make the corners not play meg is if anybody from this side, I didn't say this versus 2x2, but if anybody from either from their side runs a shallow. So if we get like mesh combinations, there's usually one shallow somewhere. So if one runs a shallow, Slay is not going to play meg. He's going to actually play mod, and he's going to fall back. Okay, and then also the seam flat defender here is going to read it as well. So basically, their read says, hey, if there's any type of shallow underneath route like this from this, this type of drag route, as we call it in Madden, right? We're going to now play Sky. So it's like Sky on the move as soon as somebody runs shallow. Slants, because I guess people like to throw slants kind of like deep crossing routes in Madden, unrealistically. We're going to treat those like basically like verticals. So this right here would have this player being played. He would just play the curl flat. Okay. And our corner would sit back and now play this corner route. All right. So if it was also, let's say Kelsey was to run shallow route like this, okay, and this receiver ran anything, he just ran vertical, or he did a little sit down TP route, little sit down route, TP route over the ball at 10 yards, right? This whole side over here to the right would turn into this regular Sky on the move, as I would call it when I was working with Rex Ryan. Like Sky on the move basically turns this hook player, this corner over here, and this seam flat player into Sky. All right, so you just need to know that. That's the only time that's how they're going to do it. Otherwise, they're going to play seam rules versus 2x2 compressed. I love it. I think it's great. It's great for the game. I'm giving you details that's going to help you guys, and I think it's really going to be good. I will review it later on, obviously, when more things drop, right? I'll confirm, but I'm just giving everybody just some information that I think is going to help out, all of us in this tight-knit community of sim players. Okay, now I've spoken a lot on this, and I think this is going to be the last part here. I don't want to make this video over an hour, but this is the newest thing here, is going to be versus trips. So in different languages, people have different calls for it. Saban has their own call. When I coached again for Rex Ryan and Mike Pettin, and then also when I got with Zim Swartz, we just kind of kept this in there too. We just to make it easy, we wanted to play 3 seam, right? A lot of times people would have the safety come down to the strong side and play 3 buzz seam. Doesn't matter. We would still play match versus trips. Okay, so what would happen is really the rules that we just talked about. We would get meg 1, right? So this corner would be megged on number 1. This safety over here, actually, I got to go back and look. I didn't test out what happens versus a shallow or versus a drag, but I'm pretty sure this safety, this nickel, I apologize, but the strong side seam flat player, he's going to play meg on 2, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if the shallow rule works with him. I didn't get a chance to look at that. I mean, I'll go back and look later, but he's megging 2, okay? And so what happens here is, how do we handle 3? This is always going to be the debate of what's going to happen. These 2 players do an excellent job of really, and this is where you might want to have to learn this stuff, if you're going to use these 2 players. But the main thing is that this backside hook player, okay, he's going to be what we call a 3-up player. And if 3 runs anything vertical, pretty much like from this hash all the way over to like these numbers, right? He's going to be looking for him. And when you actually see it in the game, this guy will actually like running over to this side as soon as the ball snaps. It's a pass, almost like he's a poach safety, and he comes running over. Like his intentions is to push over to number 3 and look to help out. Okay. Now I did try out at some point a corner route thinking it was going to be wide open, but this hook player was smart enough to come over, and let's pretend this was a corner, and he actually pushed out with number 3 as well. And that's really something that's going to have to be worked on with those two players, because we're getting Megs with 2 and 1. Okay. So if we got 4 verticals just in general, okay, it will look like this. So 4 verticals instead of the way it looks now. This player obviously would be playing. Oops, let me get the other screen up. He would be playing on 2. The corner would be playing on 1. This hook player would work underneath 3, but then stop. This backside hook player, the 3-up player, would work and turn and run with this guy. This is all 3x1 sets, guys, okay? And then even if it's trip snub, it's the same thing. And then we get the same actions on the backside where this guy kind of runs out to no man's land and then looks to match number 2 late. That's still a little bit of a flaw in my opinion. And we get our Meg corner on the backside. Wherever number 1 goes, he goes, okay? So 3x1, that's really good. I think it's going to be really, really good when you work it out of 3x1 nub sets too. That's a lot of people really got lazy, I think, and just love to run plays like PA crosses, right? You can work regular 3 seam, but then you can also work you can work now, what do you call it? Where is it at? I don't have it. My defense is a little bit different, but you can call 3 buzz seam, okay? And you can get it so that your weak side hook player is your safety, which is how it's normally set up. And what's going to happen is this over route is going to be taken by this player. He's now your 3-up player, right? He's the weak side hook player. And then we're going to get this guy doing a good job, just kind of like giving body presence underneath him and then letting him go, looking for anybody coming out. And then over here, you're going to now get, for the first time, the nickel's going to run up with number 2. Now, there's some technique stuff I don't like about the nickel, and I'll talk about that later on. I don't want to overload you guys in the first video of any type of evaluation, but the fact that we can get 3 seam to play like how it does, and the purpose of 3 seam is basically to play cover 1 versus deep vertical routes. Okay, so we want man coverage. We want body on a body when people are trying to go down the field. And when people break off short and inside, we want to play zone. Okay, so we want to pass it off. So that's pretty much the idea and why that coverage was so popular, and to me is so popular. Very interesting, and that's how it's going to work. Now, you can also, in coverage, and I'll leave that alone there, and also versus empty, it plays the same way, okay? So to the 3 receiver side, you're going to get match. 2 receiver side, you get match. It's going to look like cover 1, really. It's going to look like cover 1 with number 3 being covered by potentially the weak side linebacker, okay? Or hook player if it's a safety. Okay, so in the game itself, though, if you go to defensive coaches mode, like I said, you won't see any match down here. Everything is pretty much matches default. But I do believe and I did test this out, if you were to change your flat responsibilities, right, it basically turns into spot drop zone. So if you don't want to play match, let's say you want to play 3 seam, right, and you don't want to play match, you're going to have to turn on one of these things and get guys going to certain spots. So bad, too bad, so sad. I feel like that's real football. It should be, so you guys should be learning how to use it. If you don't want to play 3 seam, then call 3 sky. Or call cover 3 that doesn't have match. There's a lot of them in the game. That could be who you are. It could be what you want to do. Quarters, don't call cover 4 because most of them are matches. I think 90% of cover 4 is on quarters. If it says quarters, I'm pretty sure it's matched. There might be ones out there that say like 4 drop, then that's not matched. So you can run that, okay? So that's the good thing. Didn't get into cover 2 that much, guys. Cover 2 is always a hybrid coverage, even though it says it's a zone coverage. It is. You do have match components in there. As long as you have on the middle read player in the middle of the field, there's match components when it comes to the underneath coverage, when it comes to the linebackers or the vertical hook players. But we could save that for another day. All right. So let's see. We're going to finish up here soon. Let's just jump into, let me see, make sure there's nothing else here on defense. All right, let's talk about offense, and we're going to talk about defense kind of naturally because there's obviously offense affects defense. Offensively, it looks like the juke move has been nerfed. So thank goodness, that little quick, little easy juke move that made every running back that had speed, regardless of his juke rating, is completely nerfed. Now you have to, from what I understand, I didn't go into deep detail in Maximum Football Beta, but I think that they say that, all these little, Street Fighter moves that you could do now, where you could chain moves together or put moves, sequence them. it's going to require basically you to practice to learn how to juke. If you want like the crazy jukes, you're going to have to get into practice mode and do all that stuff. So God bless you. I don't think hopefully guys that I play in my leagues are going to be focused on that. They'll be focused on scheme, I hope. But it's basically rewarding guys with good stick to be able to get off the juke. Thank God, because last year it was embarrassing. Everybody was juking, you know, grandmothers and kids, okay? So that's gone. What else is there? Let's go down the line here. I'm looking at a little list that I have here printed out. Maybe next time I actually put it on the screen for you guys. I apologize. All right. So the cheat motion. Okay, so that whole motion is like, it's kind of weird because they kind of call a lot of things cheat motion that last year was actually just what do you call it, jet motion, but whatever. Even especially like motion that comes from outside number one receiver, he just motions down to the slot, like they call that cheat motion. But in general, guys, it's not that bad. It looks really cool. There's a couple plays that might be, you know, like 1 or 2 out of like 25 that I've seen that could be problem plays itself, the specific play. You know, guys can get open, but from a defensive standpoint, if you're playing zone, the coverages bump over, okay? So, and the thing about cheat motion is usually it's from an inside receiver working all the way out to number one, right? It's not even really always across the ball, but even if it is across the ball, they get all the way out to the outside sidelines, and it takes time, and the quarterback actually doesn't snap it like as soon as he gets there, Madden. He kind of waits, so it kind of is a slow motion. So you can kind of adjust, I think you can adjust to it, even with like, you know, moving a computer player or something like that. I'm going to look into that later, but overall, the zones bump and man's run with them. Okay, now I know there's some counter motions where they go one way and they come back the other, and sometimes somebody told me that the DB can get kind of caught. I've seen a counter motion where the DB actually stood where the counter motion was going to end. So the guy standing on the other side countering, and he's like, "It's okay, I know you're coming back to me." So I don't know how that's working, but there are some little things that still have a problem. If you are a real sim player and you start moving your DBs around with coaching adjustments, you're matching personnel you're matching the wide receivers by height, by speed, by overall, by depth chart. There still is the auto flip glitch that I think I'm surprised a lot of people aren't aware of this, but it's been in Madden for a couple cycles now, where the corners would automatically, like as soon as any type of auto motion happens, the corners would just flip by themselves, and you would see 2 corners running across the field like, you know, 2 ships passing in the night, and when the ball snapped, neither one would be covering their man and they'd be wide open. So just be aware of that. If you play with default, like I'm looking over here, right here, the cornerback matchups, this stuff right here, if you use any of these things, it could get you glitched versus any type of motion, not just auto motion. But hopefully if somebody motioned in real life, you know, do the user motion and the corners tried to auto flip, I would pray that your opponent is nice enough to wait, you know, because it's not anything that you did. But leave them more balanced, guys, honestly, and then you'll be okay. But cheetah motion overall looks cool. It's going to become probably a problem in leagues that don't put regulations on it, or people who just have no sense, and they're going to run it every play. So as anything, you know, it is what it is. You know, the cool thing is if you were in a sim league, hopefully they can like make those guys get tired, right? And they can't do it all day, but that's if Madden Maxim ever thought to, you know, think about things something like that. So all right, so what else is there? I did see a lot of drops by wide receivers, and just like in the past, I guess. So I don't know what that's about. And I don't think it had anything to do with abilities on the DBs. I think it was just guys were just not catching the ball clean. So QB play, I didn't talk about that. QB play actually felt really good to me. You know, there's no trajectory stuff that I think you see in other games, college games that might be coming out. But the QBs, I like how they naturally like lead the ball out in front of the receiver. There were more missed throws. If a ball was missed, it was missed out in front of the receiver and nobody can catch it. Compared to Madden in the past, I've seen stuff where like the ball would be behind somebody and it would just be dropped, right? So, or it'd be intercepted most of the time. So that would be really good, I think. Oh yeah, wide receivers too. Like, you know, in Maxim Beta football, whatever, I was, you know, playing with a team that had really good receivers, and I think they have abilities. For some reason, the abilities don't flash when they break. I don't think they did. But anyway, if I ran a dig route, which everybody knows is a good route, it's always been a good route in Madden. So a good old 12 to 15 to 18 yard dig, they come at different levels. The cut by a good receiver was a speed cut, which really got him to his spot sooner. So the quarterback can get rid of the ball sooner, right? Compared it to like an average receiver, he would like chop and square cut it. And like the DB would be all over it. So there was more separation with the good receivers, but you can actually see the difference. It wasn't just like a made up, star that's lighting up underneath his body to make him like, oh, he's faster. No, it's actually like you can see how much cleaner the routes look. I think that was really good. Can't speak on any other routes besides the dig, but I noticed that, okay? And then the last thing really on offense, I guess, just the game feels like an NFL game. You know what I'm saying? It just feels like, it looks like it actually has the visual presentation of an NFL game more than ever, in my personal opinion, all right? So I think that's it for now. I didn't look at man coverage like I probably do. That's always the first thing I do. I will say the coverage in general, like if you play quarters coverage and everybody's always worried about the outside corner who's playing match against a vertical route, is he going to get bombed easily because his transition's so slow? From a shuffle, turn and run, his hips are slow, his feet are slow, he's just getting burnt. I actually think that they actually are getting back a little bit more now. Okay, so that's going to still open up a little bit of the curl routes, which was a problem, not a problem, but it was kind of OP last year. So just in general, the man transition and match seems faster. That's good. In regular man coverage, it actually seemed a little tighter, as in the corners were turning their hips a little bit later. They weren't like flying out of there. So like something like a curl or a comeback, there wasn't a lot of separation against man coverage like it was in Madden 24. Maxim Beta 25 had a lot of plays that I still threw it, but I wasn't sure if the DB was going to make a play or not. And again, with the drops, it wasn't even 100% completion percentage with that stuff. So I think that by itself is pretty good. There were some routes, I think the C route could be a little bit OP versus man or match coverage. I saw that route getting open more than I've seen in the past. Corner routes is still good versus man coverage. There's a lot of stuff, especially with the quarterbacks throwing the ball out there. Now, I was playing with some good quarterbacks at some point, but still, I still think that the game just felt like if the quarterback's going to miss, he's going to miss long. He's going to give us probably the opportunity to get like diving catches and spectacular catches. We're going to also make it so that there's more incompletions and not as many interceptions. So that's all I can say, all right? All right, that's all I can remember. I think this video is going on about 50 minutes. I'll give you more information as it drops. Join my Patreon, guys, if you are getting this video outside of Patreon. Or if I do decide just to make this a regular YouTube video, I might do that as well. I'm trying to keep it on the wraps just because, Maxim Football Beta doesn't want people talking. So, or maybe they do. Yeah, actually they do. That's why I'm doing this. I take that back. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. So let's just keep it moving. But Maxim Football Beta just wrapped up recently, and there'll be another one I think coming out. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows what happens with the codes and everything. So we'll go from there. But if you join the Patreon, if you're not part of the Patreon, I have something called the Tea House. You know what I mean? And some inside information from me to you, and those guys have been appreciating that, I hope, and enjoying that for the past couple whatever. And that's it. All right guys, and hope you enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to y'all later, man. Peace.